Okay, good morning everyone, and welcome to our last November ISM Lunch and Learn webinar. Today we're going to be looking at budgeting tools for Sage 100 with Mr. Bruce Kern out of our Portland office. This will be our last educational webinar of the year. Next month in December we will be holding 2 year-end processing webinars, and then we will be dark in January and starting again in February with a whole new series of Lunch and Learn webinars that we're very excited about for next year. So with all of that, I'm going to turn everything over to Bruce. Bruce, welcome, and thank you for your time in showing us today.
Great, fantastic. Thanks for the introduction, Sherry, and welcome everybody. Some of the names on the list here are familiar names, so for those of you I know, nice to see you in one of my webinars. Okay, so we're going to cover budgeting today. You know, this is kind of a light topic. There's not a lot of heavy technical stuff in here, so hopefully we can keep it light and bright. And we're going to just kind of go through and talk about how the budgeting works and the features, and etc. So with that in mind, the first thing I kind of want to discuss is in the general ledger is how do budgets actually get created, and what are the codes, and where is that stuff maintained. So under the general ledger setup, you have the general ledger options. There is a tab number 3 here is where the budget codes are maintained. Okay, so the system tracks the budgets by a code. As you can see here in this little grid screen here, these codes are 10-character codes, and the system comes with some of these already pre-created. And there's no limit to the number of budget codes that you can create, so you can keep adding to the list. So if I wanted to make a new budget code, all I'd literally have to do is type the code, give it a description, and then I'd be ready to actually start adding data to that code. Now, I'm not going to worry about adding a new code today. We're going to work with the 3 that we have already got here. Now, the original and revised budget codes come with the system, and you cannot delete those budget codes. They're there by code, by definition. They cannot be removed. Budget codes that you create can be removed from the system, provided that they don't actually have any budget information in them. So if you did have some old budget codes and you wanted to get rid of those, first step would be to clear out the budget data. And we'll see in today's demo how we might be able to do some of that by actually creating data for actual codes we do use. All right. Another thing you might observe on this screen is that one of the budgets that you have in your system can be set as a default. That just means that when you run various reports, that it's going to come up on those budget-related reports by default. Optionally, you can select to copy a default budget at year-end. So that means when we do the year-end processing, it will, as part of that process, it will add a piece to that where it will copy over those amounts from your actuals to your default budget. Now, good thing to point out here is that happens when you actually perform the task of year-end processing. It doesn't happen magically at January 1st, just so you know. Okay. That's pretty much it to the setup right there. So there's where you define your codes. And we're not going to save our changes. The next thing we're going to kind of look into is we're going to kind of work our way up to the more advanced budget features, and we're going to start at the base level here. So one place we can do some budgeting and or see information that we might want is in account maintenance or account inquiry. So I'm just going to pull up an income statement account here, revenue account, and we'll talk about this. First thing I want to point out is there's some good features in here on the variance tab. So on the variance tab of account maintenance or account inquiry, you have this capability here of selecting various information for doing comparisons. One of the things you have at your disposal is the budget information. So if I change this, say, to the revised budget where there's actually some data, if I wanted to compare that to my 2020 activity, or if I wanted to even compare it, say, to my prior year, to look at, you know, whatever the budget might be, I can do that. Now, 2020, this is demo data. The demo data is all in 2020, so you'll see that we're doing everything in 2020, May specifically. All right, so there it is. Another thing to kind of point out here is that any kind of a grid screen you have like this is a one-click export to Excel. So if you right-click a grid screen like that and you want to work with it in Excel to help your analysis for some reason on this, you can do that very quickly. Notice it comes in real neat in a nice, neat format, which for those of you who do exports might know that it doesn't always do that with Crystal Reports. Okay. All right, now let's see here. Now what we're going to do is go into this little budget button. So every GL account has this budget button on it. So when we go into here, we're going to get this budget maintenance screen. The first thing that I should probably mention here is whatever you do here, it only affects the account that you're actually on. So in this case, we're dealing with the 400-0100. So it won't affect any of the other accounts that you're doing. Let's see here. So one of the things you can do, a couple silly things, we'll just be real quick about it, is you can just type into any of these cells and do whatever you want there. So if I want to just type numbers in as I go, I can do that. This is also a grid screen, which means you can also export this to Excel. I've already shown you on that in the previous screen. I'm not going to do it again. Another thing that you can get from this particular screen that you may or may not want is you can right-click and get the related tasks, and we're going to get the 3 budget reports here right at our fingertips from this task. Now we're going to take a look at those a little later toward the end, just mentioning that they're available here. Okay, let's talk about what we can do, what else we can do on this screen here. So we've got some icons on the right. Let's talk about what these things do. So this first icon here is the Select Budgets icon. You can activate that with the Alt-S. And do I want to save my changes? I'm just going to say no for now. Really what this screen does is it determines what you're going to see in here. So right now you see I've got the original budget, I've got the revised budget. I happen to know the 2019 doesn't have any activity, but as you can see, I can keep adding more and more data elements to the screen. So I can have this be quite wide if I need to for my particular activity. If there's something in here I don't want to see, which in this case I'm going to say is this 2019 activity, since it's not very helpful for us, we're just going to highlight that and click the delete, hit OK, and that screen has now been updated with whatever it is that we have selected in there. So you have total control over what you want to see here. Okay, now the next icon we have here is the Change Budget icon. So it's a little gear cog. If you click that, it has this change method. You can see there's lots of different methods. We'll play around with some of these today. So if I say I want an annual budget, let's say, and I give it $120,000, for example, it's going to assume that my annual budget is $120,000, and it's going to go ahead and break that up for me evenly based on my periods. So as you can see, there are several other methods here. So it affects the column that you're in. So I had my cursor on that period 1 of 2020 original budget, so it affected that column, not my revised budget column. And as you can see, there are several other methods here that you can kind of experiment with. I'm not going to go into all those. They're pretty straightforward. All right. Next icon we have down here is the Calculate Budget Wizard. So this is like a wizard-driven tool, just like it says. So we're just going to click on this and kind of see what we can do with that. So it's wizard-driven. A lot of people like the wizards. So if I wanted to affect my original budget, let's say, I can give it the period range here that I might want to affect it to. And I can say it's going to be based on, in this case, I'm going to change it to based on the revised budget for 2020. And maybe I want to just copy it. I've got some other options I can do here. So if I want to adjust it, say, by a percentage, and maybe I want to make it a 10% increase, I can put that in there like that, for example, and then get a little kind of a summary screen here, and then if I hit finish, bam, there it goes. So I should be seeing 10% higher on that original budget based on the revised budget. It looks like it did the math correctly. So just another way of calculating the figures in there. If you want to use the wizard there. Now this next icon we have down here, this is the clear budget icon. It does exactly what it says. So if I click that, I can tell it what do I want to clear. So if I wanted to clear that original budget, for example, I could hit proceed there and it just wiped it all out. The last icon here is the reset last budget cell or reset all budget cells. So if I say reset all budget cells, depending on what I did, it may or may not be able to put that data back there. Okay, and then what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and put something in here just so we have something. And then maybe we'll just copy that. And we'll just copy the amount down, and now we'll get some figures back in there, at least for our demo. All right, the last thing on this screen to kind of mention is there is a memo icon here. This memo is not specific to the budget, but it's the account maintenance memo, and you could certainly have a memo relative to the budget that might be useful. So just keep that in mind. Anytime you see this with a gold color, it means there's a memo. Something else to just kind of think about that might be helpful. If you did have a memo in here for the budget, oh, it's inquiry only. You'd have to do it from account maintenance. So I'll just say accept here. Once you're back to the account maintenance, you could add a memo relative to your budget if you wanted to. And of course, you could have a lengthy 4,080 character memo for your budget memo, but you can also attach external documents. So if for some reason you needed to provide documentation to back up what was in the budget, there is a memo feature that can do that. Not probably a real popular option, but it's always good to throw some bells and whistles in along the way. All right. So just to reiterate, any changes that you make in this task under GL account maintenance, budget maintenance, it's effective immediately. There is no audit trail. There is no posting routine. As soon as you change it, it will be immediately reflected on any of your budget reports. Okay. Under the general ledger, there is actually a folder called budget. So this is where a little bit more of the budget features are located. So we're going to go into budget maintenance as the first item in our list here. Now this budget maintenance that we're pulling up here, pull up the same account, it is exactly the same task with the same exact features that we just went through. There is no difference. So the question you're probably naturally asking is, well, why would they put it in here in two places? Well, the answer is that because of security reasons, you may have certain staff that you do want to be able to work on budgets, and you might want to give them access to the budget maintenance under the budget menu, but you may not want them to have the full access to GL account maintenance with all of the other tabs and other data that is there. That might be a reason why. So I'm not going to spend any more time on this other than to say it's just exactly the same of what we just did. It's just tucked under a different menu to allow for some security access segregation. All right. Let's see here. The next feature I'm going to cover is this automatic budget copy. All right, so that's also under the GL budget menu, and we're going to pop into this guy. And basically what you do in here is you can see there's a budget that we want to affect. That's the copy to budget. It can be based on another budget or activity. So let's see here. Maybe I'll just make this one based on the activity. And then you can have similar things here. So you can do a percentage change or an amount change. A new budget wouldn't be based on activity. So let's just say we do a percent change. You can tell it, I only want a certain amount of periods here to be affected. We're going to stick with 1 to 12. And if I want to put a revision percentage here, maybe I'll just tell it it's 15%. I'm going to give it a rounding factor. Most people do not budget to the penny. If you are, you're better than me. So we're going to go dollars here. Even thousands is not uncommon. Now this, we're going to enable these account selections here, and this is where we can kind of tell it, you know, what we want to be affected when we do this copy. So I'm going to put in an account range here, and you can use main accounts, full accounts, whatever you want to do. In this case, I'm just going to put in some revenue accounts, and those are in the 400 series here. So I'm going to put them in here, you know, just right there. I think is fine. Okay, then I'm going to hit the proceed button, and boom, it's going to be done. It'll take a second. It's doing its copy behind the scene, and that hourglass just went away, so it's done. So we didn't get to actually see what it did, but we're going to run the budget report now. We're going to give you your first sneak peek at the budget report, and we won't actually be able to see the actuals yet, but take my word for it. If we run it through here and we run the main accounts for 400 only, well, we should see some figures that in theory are based upon what we did before. And it looks like it did do it because we had figures in all 12 columns, and the numbers are pretty dramatically different. They're based on those actuals. Okay. All right, so that's just the automatic budget copy. It's kind of a quicker way for affecting more accounts at the same time than what you can do in budget maintenance. Still no audit trail to see what you did before it's done. All right, so they're effective immediately. All right, moving on to the next feature here, and this is probably, I'm going to say it's probably the most common feature that gets used, although they all get used. So this is called the budget revision entry. So we're going to come into here and talk about this. So notice how similar this screen is to the one we were just in for the automatic budget copy. In fact, it's identical. The only difference is that this particular process and this particular task is going to provide us an audit trail for the changes that we're making. And that might be helpful for a number of reasons. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go back through and make another pass at this. And we're going to base this back again on the revised budget so we can see the numbers change. We'll do maybe we'll do a percent change again, 1 to 12. Maybe we'll make it. We're just going to make it 5% this time, and we'll round it to dollars. You can affect the column width. That's not a big deal. And then I'm going to turn on this enable account selections. So this is another option. If I don't turn that on and I don't provide a range here, what I'm going to get is a screen where I have to manually tell it every single account that I want added. And we'll talk more about that in a minute here. All right, so then what I want to do here is I want to get my revenue accounts in. So another way of doing that is, in this case, my revenue accounts are the 400 series. I don't even have to put the range in. I could just type in 400 here for my main account. That'll get the job done. So I can just hit the proceed here, and there's my grid. So this is the budget revision entry grid. So so here it is. It pulled in the accounts just based on what I told it there. So one of the things I can do if I didn't use the account selections, or if I just want to add some accounts on the fly here, you can add them. You can add accounts in here. So what we're going to do now is just show a few things here. So you can just manually go into a cell here and type over it. So if I want to just make that 5,000, for example, I can do that. Now notice these revenue accounts, they have little minus signs on them. So this follows the general practice in accounting where revenue is, it's an account that's increased by credits. So when we're giving it a negative sign, it's our way of saying that this is a credit balance account, and 5,000 means 5,000 positive revenue. The negative just means it flows through as a credit. So you accounting types are probably used to that. All right, other things we can do here, let's see here, is we'll play with some of these features in here. So here's the select accounts. So this is right back to where I was. So if I want to make multiple passes at this, I can do that. So maybe I also want to bring in some cost of goods sold accounts. So let's see, maybe I want to add, I think these are in the 5s. We'll just say, we'll just pick that one there, and we'll go through for like 525 or something. And there's our 525, and we can hit proceed, and it just added that range right to my list here. So you can make multiple passes with that. That's really what this thing does here. Another thing that this can be helpful for, if you get knee-deep into this and you've made too many changes and it's just like I want to start over kind of a thing, which happens, you can just come right back over here to the select accounts, and all you have to do is hit this clear button, and it'll clear that whole entry out of there, and you can start back over. Okay, so there's that. Okay. All right. Now, let's say if you didn't want some of these things in here, I could just come down to my next icon here, and I can just start deleting rows. So easy enough to delete the rows, just like that. All right. Next thing we'll do some change budget stuff. So here is that change budget gear cog. If we click that, it's only operating on the row that I'm on, so we can do different things here. So that one, let's just change this by, let's make it an annual budget, and actually let's not do that. Let's change it by an amount, and let's just change this by $1,000 just to see something simple. All right, so if I do that, it just increased all of my periods by $1,000 on that account. So you can play with the different features in there to see kind of how it affects it. But they're the same calculation methods that all of the budget features have here. So you'll see these over and over again everywhere you go. Okay, information zoom. So we're right now selected on this 500-0003 account. If I hit this information zoom, this is going to give me a place to see the different budgeting information if I want to compare it. Now notice, and I can change that to to different budgets. I can't change it to an actual here, like I could in some of those screens we've seen already. But notice something here. We're looking at the original budget for this account, and notice that it doesn't agree to what our entry says. Okay, the reason is because, like I said at the beginning of this part, this is budget revision entry. It has an update register for audit trail, and then once you agree to update that, just like as if you were doing a standard journal entry, then and only then does it finalize this change. So this additional information is showing me what it was before it's been changed. So apparently this one did not have a budget, and that's why it's we're not seeing that. So just be aware of that. If it doesn't match, that's why. Okay, let's see here. Reset the row. You can reset the row or reset all rows. That's what that does. And if you want to clear the row or clear all rows, you can also do that. Maybe I'll just clear this row just to show you. It zeroes everything out. And then if I do the reset row, I just put it back. So clear and reset can kind of go back and forth depending on where you're at. So it's not finalized until you actually update this. Okay, also, again, because this is a grid screen, you can export this to Excel. So right there, there's your export to Excel. We've seen that a couple places. A lot of people like to work with budgets in Excel. All right. All right. Let's say that we might be done here. Let's see if there's any other accounts I wanted to add. No, that should probably be fine. Let's see. Oh, adding an account. If you want to just add any random accounts in here, let's say for whatever, there's one in the list here you want to update. All you have to do is click on that next available row, click the lookup, pick the account you want, and you can put, there it is. You just start going to town. All right, there you are. I'm going to get rid of that guy there. All right, when you're ready to update this, if you're still in the entry, it's very much like a lot of the data entry routines in Sage. there's a little printer icon down here in the lower right area, and that will kick off the budget revision register. If you did all this and went to lunch, let's say, and came back later, you don't necessarily have to open the budget revision entry. You can run that register right off the menu here with the budget revision register. So since we're in here already, I'm just going to kick it off this way. I'm going to hit the print button, say yes to save my changes, and I'm just going to hit the print button here. And it says, hey, do you want to print the GL budget revision register in PDF format? So for those of you who use paperless office, you probably know what that means already. For those of you who don't, you know, the purpose of showing you the budget revision register, part of it is to have the audit trail about what was the budget before it got changed, what did it get changed to, and who did it get changed by, and when did it get changed. So paperless office is a feature where we can create PDF documents that we can then pull up later with a viewer. So this is a natural for this kind of thing. So I'm going to go ahead and say yes here. And what we're going to get is our paperless office is going to present to us a PDF with our same entry in it that we just entered. And we're going to go ahead and look at that and say, yep, it looks pretty good. And if we're happy with that, we're going to say yes, and we're going to update that. Now later on, you can access that, that register in paperless office. So here's the paperless office module. And this does have to be set up, by the way. This doesn't work out of the can. But this is all set up. So if we go to the journal and register viewer here, I could filter this down. You know, it's the only one I have in here right now. But there's the register we just populated at 11:56 my time. And if we want to pull that back up and see it, there it is. We could even email that to people in our organization if we needed to, etc. So it's retrievable. That's our audit trail. That's all I'm going to mention about that. All right. So that's your basic budget inputting tools, although we'll throw a few more in here in a little bit. Now I want to spend a few minutes just talking about reports. And we're not going to look at a whole bunch of reports, but we're just going to hit a few key ones. So under the budget menu, you have the budget report. So this is your basic report. You can change the settings on this. You can see kind of on the screen, you know, whether you want to see the zeros or not. So here it is. You go down into this little grid here, and you tell it what budget information you want to see and for what year. So you could, for example, have, you know, budget 2019, budget 2020 to kind of compare both. You can do account ranges here. I'm just going to do an account range that I think has data in it. And I'm just going to come down here to the 400 main account all the way through the 525. I think we have data. And we're going to go ahead and just preview that to take a quick look at the budget report. And there it is. It's horizontal in nature, meaning it's got the periods across the top, and then it's got our two budgets there. So that's your basic budget report. Okay, the budget and history report, that's actually under the reports menu. So there's the budget and history report here. And the thing I like about this one is it actually allows you to pull in your actual postings. So we already know the 2019 doesn't have data, but if we hit the list here, you notice you can pull in actuals, a number of actuals. You could have year after year actuals along with your budgets. So bottom line is you pick what you want here. And I'm just going to do the actual postings for 2020 along with my original budget. And then, of course, you've got all the selection criteria that you could ever want. I'm going to go ahead and just give this my 400 to my 525 here. And we'll take a quick look at this guy. All right, and this one, you know, is more of a vertical orientation. But there, you know, kind of column by column, you can kind of see almost for comparison, you know, budget to actual. All right, there's that. Now keep in mind you can always turn these settings for hiding the zeros on, and you can even save your report with those settings, so you don't have to worry about looking at the zero budget items. Okay, budget and history report, that's it. Budget and history report by period. This is about the last one I think we're going to look off the menu. and we're going to just take that 2019 junk out of there, and we're just going to run this real quick. It's very similar settings to what we just saw. The main reason I like to show this one is the layout. The layout is horizontal, which seems to be, in my experience, much more preferred by most people. Okay. Oh, and there is one more here that a lot of people don't know about that's kind of fun. And I don't know where we ended up with our data, but this is a good one. General Ledger Graphics. This is one of my favorite reports, and not a lot of people know about this one. So I think this is the only report in Sage that actually gives you a graph in it in most of the main modules without some kind of report writer. So we'll make it type. We're just going to do an account summary. We'll make it a line. We'll call it fiscal year here. We'll put in our information. We'll go 2020, and we'll do the actual postings, and then we'll do the 2020. Let's see if we can get our original budget in here. And then we'll do the account number. We know our revenue is the 400 series, so let's just cheat and type 400. And I'm not sure what kind of spread we ended up with here, but let's just kind of see what it gives us. You'll get the idea. So there we are. You can see, it just presents a basic graph here, so it's a little bit more of a visual presentation. There you are. Okay, that is the graphics. All right, another place you might need to see some budget data is your financial reports. So the system comes with the 3 standard reports here at the bottom, all the ones that say standard, but you can also create your own reports. So for this one here, I'm just going to kind of show you what we did real quick. This is a no-brainer. You go through a wizard by clicking the New Financial Report button, and it walks you through it here. So I gave it a name. I told it it's an income statement. I gave it a group. And this is the key part, the column data format. This setting right here is what determines what data shows up in your report. So you can click the drop down. You'll notice that a number of them do include budget data. So I'm just going to hit next and get all the way through the end here. This is the spot where you can tell it which of the budgets that you want that you have defined, and whether or not you want them with a 0 balance. And then I'm just going to hit to the end here, and then I'm just going to quickly run this one report to show this to you. And we'll do it for 531. And we'll take a look, and there it is right out of the can, budget, original, variance. After all, that is the point of doing budgets. How well are we doing against our budget? So it's nice to see a report with the variance there. All right, now what we're going to do, let's see here. Other places you can see budget data that might be helpful to you. Every module has this Explorer folder on it, and in the General Ledger one, there's actually a view for budgets. So if I click under that and pull that up for you, we do have a separate Lunch and Learn that covers the Business Insights Explorer, which is what this tool is. Point for this presentation is to say that there is a view that you can customize to see budget data. So this does Excel exports, and you can group data. For example, if I wanted to group this by fiscal year, I could do that, so on and so forth. There's a lot of things you can do to play with Business Insights. So that's all I'm going to say on that. There is a view there for budgets. Okay, let's see here. Now, probably one of the coolest things that I like to do with budgets is this. So there is a tool called Sage Intelligence Reporting. And if you have this tool, and you do have to have, there's some things you have to buy to be able to do this. But I'm going to go into this thing called the Report Manager, and I'm just going to pull up one report that I've got in here. So this is an Excel-based report writer for Sage 100 for any of those of you who haven't seen this. And I've got a folder here with some reports in it. And I'm just going to run a report out and show you a few things that this tool can do for you with budgets that you can't do anywhere else. So it's running a query now against the database, and it's pulling all the data into my Excel report that I've got here written. So we'll give this a second to run. And you can see it's kind of got a little progress bar here on the right. You can see it kind of being active. Okay, so here we are. So this is something I whipped up just for today's presentation, and this is Sage Intelligence. So what we've done here is this tool here can actually pull in budget data right directly into Excel, directly out of your Sage 100 system. So here's in a little top part here showing kind of a variance analysis with the actual revenue and the budget and the difference. What's cool about these types of reports is you can just, change one cell or a couple cells and it'll update your whole report. So you can have a number of different budget codes. So just by changing one of these cells, it updates my entire report. It also gives you a place, if you're doing that variance analysis, where you can actually have an analyst actually put comments. I used to actually have to do this. So they didn't just want me to spit out a financial statement. They wanted me to tell them why we were not on budget. Now, this is a cool example down below here. And this is just to show you kind of some of the flexibility and the cool feature. So whereas up here we were pulling the individual account numbers at the very detailed level, here I did it with just a main account. So the main account, of course, includes all of the accounts that belong to that group. And one of the cool things here is that I like to show is here we have the total budget original budget for the 400 revenue account. So one of the cool features you can do here is you can drill down, and now this drill down is telling me the budget data that I have in the system. So there's a drill down feature that's kind of fun for budgeting too. So if I want to see the details of what made that up, that's a right-click drill down. All right, that's all I wanted to show you there. So kind of bringing in the other tools as well, Business Insights Explorer, Sage Intelligence. There are also some stock reports in Sage Intelligence that have budget data. Not going to run any of those right now. All right, so that's a lot of the kind of the front-end features and tools and places to see the budget data. Another really common request that we get with budgeting is, hey, that's great, I see you hand-keyed all that stuff, but we like to kind of mash our budget around in Excel and pass it around to different managers and this and that. We want to be able to import it once we have it all massaged and finalized. We don't want to have somebody go in and hand key it. So we're going to talk about how do you import your budgets. In my opinion, the best way to import a budget is with Visual Integrator. Very common module. Lots of people have it. I'd say probably more than half the people have it. It's a module that you can buy if you don't have it. So for those of you who don't have it, basically it's an import module. It can do exports. The main benefits of Visual Integrator is it allows you to maintain your data. So it can be used for a lot of other things besides just budgeting. So what we're going to do here is I have this little VI folder here, and we're going to talk about importing. So here is my GL budget revision entry template. So this is my Excel file with my budget data in it. Look how simple it is. Basically, I have to tell it what accounts do I want to import the budget for, and then here I've got my 12 periods of the year. I added these in just to show you for the demo, but this has budget code and year. So 3 things we got to have when we're going to put a budget in. We need to know the account, we need to know the year, and we need to know the budget code. So with these, I'm basically saying I could have left these out, but I put them here just to kind of show you. Now what we're going to do is I'm just going to close that. Now this file right here, this budget revision entry that ends in CSV, that's the same file as this one ending in XLSX, except it's comma delimited, which is what the actual import job itself uses. So I would have copied and pasted my data to that. And here's the actual import. So the import here is called budget revision, and you can call it whatever you want. And I'll describe this process once this comes up. So basically what you do in Visual Integrator, you went down there, I went to import job maintenance, and I told it, hey, I want to make a new job to import my budgets. I named it budget revision. The system then said, great, what table do you want to import that to? And I told it, GL budget revision. So there's a lookup there, and you pick it. When you're importing data, you have to import it to a data entry area and then perform the necessary update. So relative to budgets, that's our budget revision entry. With this particular tool, that's the only way to do it. So the path here, this just points to that CSV file that has my budget information in it. And I'm going to come over here to the Data tab. This is the kind of what I call the working end of the VI job. This is what does the real work. It tells me here, this is where I have assigned it, where to get the data. So for the fiscal year, I've told it you are going to be a runtime assigned, meaning at the time I run this job, I will tell you what the fiscal year is that I want. For the account key, that's just a replace. So it's looking in my spreadsheet in column 1 to get that account key. The budget code is going to be a runtime assign as well. And then columns 4 through 15 are where my actual budgets are, my budget numbers are. These other 2 tabs, I didn't even touch them. There's nothing here. So we're not going to spend a lot of time talking about that. Now when I'm ready to run this job, all I got to do is click accept, and it's going to ask me, hey, you want to run this job? I'm going to tell it yes. And what we're going to do here is tell it what fiscal year do we want and what budget code. Notice it says caps, so I'll put my caps on here. So this code that I'm typing in this case original, has to match your budget code. If it doesn't exist and it doesn't match, your import will fail 100% of the time. Now, it's a good idea to test your import before you do it. After all, you want to know if it's going to work or not. So I'm going to go ahead and test it. You can test as many records as you want. I prefer to test them all to make sure that they are all good. So if I click OK here and I test it, it's telling me how many records did I have, are there any good ones, how many did I read, how many failed. In this case, it's perfect. It didn't find any failed. Now I'm just going to open this log real quick to show you what it looks like. So here's my 11 records. If I double click one, I can see the data, everything the way it is coming in here. If there was a failed record, it would be in red. And if I opened it up, it would tell me instead of pass, it would say fail. And it would say something like, let's say it failed on the account key. And then it would say something to the right like, the account key must be set up in account maintenance before you can import a budget. It would tell me that I don't have that account, basically. So that's it. It tested OK. I'm going to go ahead and run this import in now. And so I'm going to say, actually, hold on one moment, because, let's see. I'm going to say, do you want to view the import log? I can't remember. Do you want to view the import? No. I meant to go here and clear and verify that that entry is clear. So my bad. So general ledger, budget revision entry. So it's good practice to check this before you do it. And notice the clear button here is not lighted up. So that means there is nothing to clear. Okay, so I'm safe. Now I'm going to go back. Oh, wait, it's right there. I got to come back and clear this. I'll just get rid of all the goodies here. There we go. Okay. Let's make sure we can clear it. Should be okay. All right. Now let's try that import next. All right. In this case, we're just going to click accept and run it in. Okay, there it is. And I'm not going to even bother looking at the log. Now, since I imported it to the budget revision entry, I can come into the budget revision entry, and there is my imported entry that I just brought in. So at this point, I would just update this. So I'm going to hit print, and we're going to just preview it this time and run the update. Okay, done. Okay, so that's, for those of you who have VI, that's how you can import them. Now, not everybody has VI, so or they have VI, but they don't really care to use the budget revision entry. They just want a way to import it that doesn't require them to have an update routine. So something that everybody has is GL Exchange. So under the GL utilities is General Ledger Exchange. So every system comes with this. So, and GL Exchange is kind of an old school tool, but it's useful for doing various things. One of the things it can do is import budgets. So what I did is I came into General Ledger Exchange and I defined an import. And we're just going to walk through the wizard here and see what I did. So we're going to click the modify setting here, and we're just going to walk through it. I gave it a name, and it's my budget import for the original budget. Here's where I told it which budget it is. Here's where I told it the year. Do I want to exclude expired accounts? So I have options for that. And I told it, no, I don't. And here in this case, I'm giving an account range. These are the accounts that I want to import the budget for. Hit next. Here's a CSV file. It's wanting to import the same. I'm using the same exact file that I used for my other import through VI. And then I have to pick a file format. In this case, my accounts were longer than 9 characters, so I, per these instructions, chose the alternate format. And then I'm going to hit finish. So when I'm ready to actually use this now, I'm just going to hit the proceed button, and I'm going to go ahead and test the setting to make sure it works good. And it told me, yep, it's good. Notice the lack of detail. It doesn't have near the detail that the VI module has. So I can print the log, and we can just hit preview here. It's not going to tell me a whole lot other than they were not skipped. And then I'm going to continue with my import, and it says they imported, and I'm not going to worry about that log again. Now that exchange import was for count 500 to 525. So if I wanted to go see that, and notice there was no update routine. It was immediate. So a key difference between that and the GL budget revision entry. So if I ran that budget report again, we should see hopefully that's updated. And we'll just run it for that range under the original budget. So main account 500, and I'll do 525. Okay, very good. Now, another thing to just kind of mention is kind of heading toward the end of our time today is this. This is kind of an out-of-the-box thing that might be helpful for some of you. And I only thought of this because I've seen everywhere from a very well-designed chart of accounts that's well-maintained and clean and tight and grouped properly to a complete rat's nest of a chart of accounts. So under the General Ledger options, and this is something that might help if your chart of accounts is maybe not as structured as it should be. So under the General Ledger setup is the General Ledger options. On the #1 main tab here, the system allows you to have 3 or 4 roll-up types in the General Ledger, feature that's not well understood. So what I've done here for you guys' demo today is I actually defined one of those General Ledger roll-ups as a manager. Then what I did is I went to roll-up code maintenance under the General Ledger setup, and I defined for that roll-up type managers red, white, and blue. So we have managers with last names red, white, and blue. So there's my manager list. Then what I did is I assigned the managers in account maintenance to various accounts. So if I hit the lookup here, here's my revenue account starting with 400, and as you can see, I've assigned red, white, or blue to a few of them. What does that allow me to do? One thing it allows you to do, and there's variations on the theme, when I'm running my budget report, let's say, and there's a number of reports that you can do this with, I could, if I'm blue and I only want to see my accounts, or I'm really zeroing in on blue's accounts, and because I can assign blue to any random combination of accounts that do not have to follow a chart of account structure, i.e., they don't have to be the same department, they don't have to be the same location, they can be any accounts that are marked for blue. I can type blue in here, and hit the preview, and we'll get only blues accounts. So this is another way for you to help zero in on the data that's particular to you, and that's another feature that a lot of people don't know about. So there it is, another way of using a roll-up code to help get around some of the limitations if your chart is not structured real neatly. All right, that is pretty much what I had planned to show you guys today on budgeting, and I thank you all for attending. Sherry, I'm going to turn it back to you.
Okay, perfect. So thank you for that, Bruce. Do we have any questions? I'm going to unmute the phones for those of you that I can unmute for. And everybody should be unmuted. I didn't see anything come in over the chat, and I did not see any hands raised. So are there any questions for Bruce on any of these processes right now? Okay, well, I'm going to take that as a no. As always, if something comes up, please feel to reach out to me at AM, that's for account manager, at goism.com. This concludes our November webinar series. We will be sending out our year-end newsletter with the 2 dates for the year-end processing webinars for December, as well as some helpful information regarding the SAGE updates and their release dates and schedules, supported versions, etc. So keep an eye out for that at the beginning of the month, and I wish everyone a very happy Thanksgiving holiday. And Bruce, thank you very much for your time. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.